new human rights report says Egypt's security forces have abducted hundreds of people. Amnesty International claims many of those targeted in the crackdown were all tortured, all in an attempt by Cairo to eliminate dissent. Students, political activists and protesters have reportedly vanished after security forces raided their homes. Others have been held for months and kept blindfolded and handcuffed. Egypt's government denies the allegations. Hundreds of students, political activists and protesters, including young children as young as 14, have vanished without trace since early 2015. The report says heavily armed security forces seize 3 to 4 people per day on average. Many of them are held for months at a time, often blindfolded and handcuffed for the entire period. The report also includes accounts of torture during the interrogation sessions lasting for hours. Egypt has dismissed the findings of the report. The Foreign Ministry released a statement giving their response. We will not comment on Amnesty International's latest report on the human rights in Egypt. The organisation is not impartial and is motivated by political stances. Well, to get reaction from that statement and from Amnesty International, we're joined by Nicholas Piachaud, I hope I pronounced your name right, who joins me live in the studio. He is an Egypt researcher at Amnesty International. Welcome to the programme. First of all, what's your reaction to Egypt's statement?
Well, Egypt says they don't, owe us any answers, but I'll tell you who they do owe answers to. It's the families of the people who have disappeared in Egypt. And for months now, all these families have been hearing is deny, deny, deny from the Egyptian authorities, while they have been frantically searching police stations, prisons, prosecutors' offices for their loved ones. One father told us all he wanted to know was whether his son was alive or dead. And those are answers, those are truths, which the Egyptian authorities are denying to these families.
Why has Amnesty International decided to bring out this report now? Is there a particular reason for the timing of this?
Well, we've seen international condemnation growing over the last few months at enforced disappearances in Egypt. What we wanted to do was to give a sense of the horrifying scale of enforced disappearances. These are disappearances which are affecting hundreds of people, protesters, political activists, students, children as young as 14, and elderly parents abducted simply to put pressure on their children. We also wanted to call attention to the horrific torture endured by victims of enforced disappearances, beatings, electrocutions, and hours of stress positions. One victim was told by a police officer, "We can kill you, we can throw your body in the trash, and no one will ask where you are." This is state violence which is unchecked and out of control.
One of the high-profile cases you were mentioning was the Italian student whose body turned up. Can anybody be held accountable for disappearances like that?
Well, I think part of the problem is Egypt's judicial system has effectively become complicit in enforced disappearances. It is really impossible for it to establish the truth of what's happening. Prosecutors are ignoring complaints of enforced disappearance, clearly falsified evidence, confessions extracted under torture. Prosecutors aren't paying any attention to this. In fact, in some cases, prosecutors are even threatening detainees with further abuse. One prosecutor told a 14-year-old boy that if he didn't cooperate, he would go back to the police to be subjected to electric shocks. So let's abandon any pretense. This is an independent and impartial judiciary. This is a tool of repression.
So this report is to raise awareness, not just within Egypt, but also within the international community. What do you want to see done?
Well, this should be a clarion call to the international community. We've heard a lot of words so far, but very few actions. It's time for that to change. And there are 2 key things they can do. The first is to press President Sisi to appoint an independent commission of inquiry, one which can do what prosecutors can't, establish the truth about enforced disappearances. Now, that commission should include international human rights experts. And the second thing the international community can do is very simple. They can stop supplying the arms and equipment to Egypt which are fueling repression. They should take guns and ammo out of the hands of the security forces that they're turning on peaceful dissidents and protesters.
OK, Nicholas Piachaud, thank you very much for joining us here on TRT World.
Thank you.